Justin Herbert doesn't start winning meaningful football games, he is going to be the next Kirk Cousins. A guy that fills the stat sheet up, a guy that makes the right plays, but a guy you don't ultimately trust to win you the big game.
Roland, what is one of your takeaways from week 2 of the NFL season?
Yeah, it was an eventful Sunday. Let's put it that way. Lots of intrigue. I know your Broncos lost after performing a miracle, but it is the Broncos. So my Colts won. Good weekend. Beat the Texans. So can't really say much about that. Everyone's supposed to beat the Texans. So anyway, my biggest takeaway of this week was we need to stop mentioning Justin Herbert in conversations when we say he's the top 5 quarterbacks in the NFL. He's yet to win a playoff game. He barely gets there. And yes, you can blame coaching. Their defense is legit, at least like personnel wise. And he's got plenty of playmakers to go around. And he just seems to fall flat. I am out on the Justin Herbert hype train. And I don't think you can I don't think you can put him above any of the top 5. I don't think like he's a consensus top 5 quarterback like everyone treats him to be. I've got some names for you. Would you rather have Justin Herbert or Jalen Hurts?
Jalen Hurts.
Would you rather have Justin Herbert or, I mean, it's pretty obvious between Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. You're not going to pick him over those two. Justin Herbert or Joe Burrow?
Joe Burrow.
Okay, so there's 4. Justin Herbert or Tua?
Oh, see, this one's a lot difficult. I'm going Justin Herbert on this one.
Justin Herbert or Lamar Jackson?
Justin Herbert.
Justin Herbert or Kirk Cousins?
Oh, Justin Herbert.
Okay. Every single one of those quarterbacks that I just mentioned have a higher win percentage than Justin Herbert does. Justin Herbert has a 50-50 win percentage. The mighty Kirk Cousins has a 52% win percentage. Their stats are pretty identical. The only thing that gets everyone hard on Justin Herbert is his physicals. It's the eye test. Everyone gets crazy over these throws that he makes, but he doesn't win football games. Now, some might argue it's not his fault. Some might argue it's the system that he's in. But if you're that good of a player, why can't you win more than 50% of your games? You know, this game against Tennessee was awful. Tennessee's an inferior opponent in every way, shape, or form. And they lost to Ryan Tannehill and the mighty Derrick Henry. You know, I'm not going to say that he is a top 5 quarterback until he finally actually wins a playoff game. You know, Tua's my MVP pick this year, so I can't pick Tua or I can't pick Herbert over him. It's just, I don't get the hype around this guy until he actually shows that he can win.
Yeah, and you bring up a good point about the Chargers, a team that always struggles and feels like they're underachieving, but it also feels like they really have the talent. I guess my biggest question for you about Justin Herbert is, do you feel like he's talented enough to be a top 5 QB and maybe it's the intangibles that he's missing? Or do you think it's maybe a combination of both that he just hasn't shown?
I think he's talented enough. The sad part is I think he's destined to have a similar career arc to the Tony Romos and the Phillip Rivers of the world, where you show that you have the potential to be the best quarterback in the NFL with your ability. You just never put the wins together. And whether that be coaching, whether that be the system you're in, or just not being able to, you know, just not being able to win football games as the most important player on your team. That's the sad part about it. That's why everyone already kind of puts him in that top 5. And I look at him compared to like a Lamar Jackson, where Lamar Jackson wins 70% of his games when he's healthy. The guy has a similar winning percentage to, the Joe Burrows of the world. And we're not even writing him. And we hesitate to even consider whether or not we should pay the guy if you're Baltimore, right? Whereas Justin Herbert, there's no question. Let's send him all the money in the world. And he hasn't even won a playoff game. You know what I mean? Now, Lamar Jackson hasn't had much success in the playoffs either, but at least when he's healthy, it's pretty much a guaranteed playoff spot.
Here's my thing with the Chargers. I'm not quite where you are right now on the Justin Herbert take. I think I want to see one more thing happen before I decide that for sure or not. The Chargers need a new head coach. The team is 0-2 this season, right? They should have won, lost to the Titans, like you said. But there were some things that happened that I think were out of Herbert's control, right? I mean, Ryan Tannehill was 20-24. After last week, he just threw 3 picks and looked awful against the Saints. Derrick Henry didn't kill them. Like, he was okay, but they still lost to the Titans, right? And as you mentioned, the defense, they have a lot of big names. They have Mack, they have Bosa, they have Derwin James as the safety, but it feels like they just underachieve every single year, specifically the defense and the Chargers as a whole as well. But it feels like this team is always underachieved with Brandon Staley as the head coach. And the team seriously considered firing him this offseason, but the players fought for him. They were able to keep him around, right? So he's here again. And I think if I'm the Chargers, I want to really see what I have in Justin Herbert before it's too late. I want to see if he's that guy. I want to give him as much of an opportunity as I can. If I'm the Chargers, I fire Brandon Staley and I'm bringing in someone else. Someone else who I think works well with Justin Herbert. Someone I want to see some winning with this team so I know if Herbert can be my franchise QB or not.
It's fair enough. I mean, you can only play the cards you're dealt, so to speak. But I don't think the cards he's dealt is that bad. You have Keenan Allen, you have Austin Eckler, you have a solid defense. You're not like you're out there with no run game and no defense like the Peyton Mannings of the world early in his Indianapolis Colts career. And, Peyton Manning's a legend, but people are out here saying this guy is got the physicals to be just like that, and I just think we got to pump the brakes a little bit on top 5 talk until he actually puts it together for a season, because starting out 0-2 with losses to especially the Titans, this one was bad. I mean, the Titans, man, I didn't even think they would win 6 games, man, 7 games this year.
I think we were an under on their overall win total.
Under. We were for sure under. And, they got outplayed by Tua. But just this one, man, this was just a bad loss to the mighty Ryan Tannehill. Arguably got outplayed. I mean, I think Ryan Tannehill was able to go shot for this guy. And if Ryan Tannehill's doing that, you're not a top 5 quarterback. So.
Yeah, and like you said, when you compare him to some of these other QBs, a lot of other guys have accomplished more than he has, and they've been in the league just as long. So we'll see what happens going forward with the Chargers, but there is definitely room for concern right there, right? This guy's supposed to be the guy who leads you. He's supposed to be the guy that shows up. He no doubt has offensive weapons around him, right? The Chargers didn't have Austin Eckler today, but they still have loaded group of wide receivers. And Austin Eckler's probably not going to be around after this year. 1 year left on his contract, so this might be what their future looks like with at least the offensive roster next year. So, got to get used to not having that guy around.
My question for you is, outside of the only quarterback that I named that you would take over Justin Herbert was Jalen Hurts.
No.
Why
So,
would
oh
you
yeah.
take Justin Herbert over a Lamar Jackson or a Tua?
So my biggest thing with Tua so far is he also hasn't had playoff success yet, right? And he's also been very hurt. And I think they're really close. I would rank them really closely. But kind of as you mentioned, one of your knocks on Herbert, I just feel like he's a little more talented than Tua right now. Like things are a little more natural for him, a little more fluid. And if Herbert had a coach like Mike McDaniel, like I think if you put Herbert on the Dolphins, they would have basically the same type of success that they're having with Tua. Um, and for me, that says more about Tua because a lot of people have been really low on him, and I've never really understood why. But I think they're really close. Lamar Jackson, his thing is his play style, whenever we really seen a QB with his play style translate to winning to a Super Bowl, right? Um, just there's not, I don't know if there's anyone who we can really name. Cam Newton made a Super Bowl, but he's also a lot bigger than Lamar Jackson is. And I don't think Lamar Jackson is a good passer, but I don't think he's as elite as Herbert is in that category. And then Kirk Cousins, I feel like, is kind of a little more explanatory because Kirk Cousins is almost feels like if Justin Herbert was just never a winner, that's kind of what he would turn into. And Herbert hasn't proved that yet, but he could become that ultimately.
I just think that you look at Kirk Cousins, like you said, you hinted on it. If Justin Herbert doesn't start winning meaningful football games, he is going to be the next Kirk Cousins. A guy that
Yeah.
fills the stat sheet up, a guy that makes the right plays, but a guy you don't ultimately trust to win you the big game.
Needs to make the big plays as well.
So Lamar Jackson, the reason why I would take him is just his resume. MVP already. He has won a playoff game. That's 2 notches up on him. And his win percentage is 20% higher when you have him as your quarterback. A lot of that might be the system that he's in, but I don't understand why people were so low on him going in. I think it's probably injury concerns, but yeah, I just wrapping it up, man. Justin Herbert needs to start winning football games or he will be the next Kirk Cousins.
Yeah, no doubt. And just my last thing to just kind of throw into that was I feel like the Ravens and the Dolphins also have had Dolphins now at least they have good head coaching structures, good things set up, and I want to see the Chargers have that before I go one way or another on Justin Herbert.